So much to talk about in today's episode and only 30 minutes to do it. Let's jump straight to the intro. I'm Austin Bennett, and this is the Philly Cheese Take.
Because bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad things.
Haliburton has looked awful, and I'm glad he's injured.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Philly Cheese Take. I know it's been quite a while since the last episode. I apologize for the hiatus, but we are back, and we're here one day before the NBA draft. The new league year has started, and we've got a lot to talk about regarding our Philadelphia 76ers. There's a bit of an issue about who they're going to select at pick number 3. We really have no clue who we're going to see called on stage 24 hours from now, headed to Philadelphia. The consensus is that it's between Rutgers' Ace Bailey and Baylor's VJ Edgecombe, and there's a lot of drama surrounding this pick. Ace Bailey has canceled twice his meetings with the 76ers and has not met with a single NBA team leading up to this draft. Beyond that, he's set to throw out the first pitch for the New York Mets against the Philadelphia Phillies on Thursday, the day after the day he is expected to be selected to an NBA team in this draft. And it's caused a lot of dramatics. It's almost like he's on a campaign to avoid getting drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers, which I don't quite understand. Now, sources with the Sixers have called these cancellations, quote, age appropriate for a young player. But I don't see this as appropriate at all. This is extremely concerning. I don't care how old you are. If you're being considered to be a member of a professional basketball team, especially at the highest level with the NBA, and you're trying to work your hardest to make yourself available for a high pick in the NBA draft, you have to operate with a certain level of professionalism, and he's nowhere near that with this type of behavior. It's one thing to simply say, oh, I'm going to focus on myself, I'm going to do my own thing, host my own workouts, do my own kind of campaigning, and I'm not going to meet with the team. But to set up a time and place to work out with a professional team, to meet with the front office, to have interviews, to have it so set up that there are hotel reservations and restaurant reservations made for you, and then you decide to cancel with that team. That's just completely disrespectful. And not only did Ace Bailey do that once, he did it twice. He had the audacity to do it twice. I'd have a lot more respect for him, and I'd see it as a lot more age appropriate if he just came out and said, I'm not meeting with NBA teams before the draft. Simple as that. Okay, strange decision. It's not what I recommend for him, but I could have a little bit of respect if he had taken that approach. But no, he's reeling the Sixers in and then just totally throwing them out. It's ridiculous. Totally disrespectful. VJ Edgecombe, on the other hand, has met with the team, has done workouts with the team, and a report came out just the other day about those workouts, which added to the drama of this pick. They said that VJ Edgecombe, quote, appeared nervous and, quote, did not shoot the ball particularly well in his workout with the Sixers. However, he made a, quote, strong impression during interviews that sources say the team values higher than the workout performance. So my question regarding this report and these sources is, where is the age-appropriate energy here? Right? It's totally fair for an 18-year-old to cancel on a professional organization's plans 2 times, but when an 18-year-old goes and makes an effort to meet with a team and is nervous and doesn't shoot well at the workout because he's nervous and he's excited to be around this organization, all of a sudden that's concerning and it's not, just age-appropriate behavior. This is ridiculous. There's a clear anti-VJ Edgecombe bias in the media surrounding the 76ers for some reason, and it's just totally unfair to the young player. I'd like for the energy here to be completely the same. I consider being nervous at a workout much more age appropriate than canceling on a team twice. I mean, think about it. VJ Edgecombe, before this last college basketball season, probably didn't consider himself a top 3 pick. The fact that he can be in contention for a position like this and to join such a playoff contender like the 76ers at pick number 3. I mean, that is just the dream scenario, I would think, right? And it's what boggles my mind about Ace Bailey so much. Why wouldn't he be excited to be around this organization? I understand the past and the lack of success, but at the end of the day, you're a top 3 pick that's going to a championship contender, whether people want to believe that or not. The reality of the situation is it's a roster built for a championship. Whether they can carry that out, who knows? But it's a roster built for a championship. You're not being taken at pick number 3 like LaMelo Ball was 4 years ago and going to Charlotte and to an organization that can't get itself out of the hole and that continues to tank and that will never be in contention for as long as things remain the way that they are. This is a team that's poised for the playoffs, and you get to join them while reaping all the benefits of a top 3 pick. It's the dream scenario. And I think VJ Edgecombe understands that. And so naturally there's a bit of pressure that he puts on himself. And it probably led to him appearing nervous at a workout. But good for him for showing up, for following through on plans, and for showing interest. That's the type of person I want on a roster. It's ridiculous. I saw a tweet by Aiden Doc, great account, great 76ers account on Twitter. And he had some very interesting insight in regards to former Philadelphia 76ers draft picks. Now, take this with a grain of salt. This could absolutely just be coincidental, but it adds to my concerns regarding Ace Bailey. It says, since 2016, the Philadelphia 76ers have selected 3 players in the first round who had fewer than 20 wins in college. In 2021, it was Jaden Springer. In 2017, it was Markelle Fultz, and in 2016, it was Ben Simmons. Why is this information important? It's because Rutgers and Ace Bailey finished with just 15 wins this season. A pattern is starting to be put together in regards to first-round picks with the 76ers. If you're curious about Baylor's record, they finished the regular season with 19 wins and achieved their 20th win in the NCAA tournament, which kind of pushes VJ Edgecombe out of this interesting narrative. But yeah, certainly an interesting pattern from former picks. And it's a reminder that, yes, ceilings exist with these young, exciting prospects, but college success matters. It absolutely matters. So this is a show that I have curated with the intent of being positive, unbiased, fresh, informative media for Philadelphia fans. I think that Philadelphia, both as a culture and as a media, is plagued with too much negative bias, too much negative perspective, and I try to bring you as much positivity as possible. Obviously, this is a very dramatic situation, and there's a lot of negatives involved, but I do want to talk about the positives from this scenario, because there are positives, and the positive perspective is, this, for the most part, is a pressure-free pick for the 76ers. I mean, this is about as pressure-free as it gets in regards to a top 3 pick in any major sport draft, right? In most situations, a team that acquires a top 3 pick in a draft is desperate for something franchise-altering, right? The 76ers don't need that out of this pick necessarily. It's just got to be a player that contributes to this pre-existing championship caliber roster. I mean, the reality of the situation that we're talking about right now is whoever we pick at pick number 3 doesn't even necessarily need to be a starter on day 1, right? We have the starting 5 without this player if necessary, right? It looked like some form of Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, and Joel Embiid, which, if all healthy, and that's a ginormous if, I understand, if healthy, that's a championship caliber starting 5. You can't argue with me on that. As much as you may dislike the sound of it, the reality of the situation is that's a starting 5 championship caliber roster. Just look at what the Oklahoma City Thunder did. Not to discredit any of those players, but look at their starting 5 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, SGA, right? Those aren't 5 all-stars. Those aren't 5 perennial players, franchise-altering players. Those are just 5 well-meshed, well-put-together, capable players And I don't think that the Philadelphia 76ers starting five at this stage is too far from that. They just have to be all on the court. That's the biggest deal. So with that perspective, with the lack of pressure, there's still two ways to look at this situation. You could say take VJ, avoid the drama, and allow him to contribute and take a less riskier approach. Or you can take Ace Bailey, shoot for the higher ceiling, deal with the dramatics, and it's a higher risk, higher reward situation. Me personally, I don't think the Sixers are in a scenario where they should feel like they need to take a risk and shoot for a higher ceiling. So I say draft VJ, but either way, we shouldn't panic. This team is already capable without this top 3 pick, and with it, they're going to be better. So whatever way they go about this, they're going to trend positively. And so that's where we can find peace. Post-recording Philly Cheesesteak breaking news. I'm actually chiming in on this about an hour after my initial recording. I was in the process of editing this episode, and breaking news has just come out regarding Ace Bailey, saying that he has expressed that he does not want to be drafted by the Sixers. It has now been explicitly stated by his team. Sources saying that his preferred draft destinations are the Wizards, Pelicans, and Nets. There's also been reports that the Sixers, on their side of things, have told sources that they will not be drafting Ace Bailey tomorrow and will instead either be taking VJ Edgecombe or they will be trading down in the draft. And as I was editing this recording, I did have the thought, if they're so tied up in taking Ace or VJ at 3, it wouldn't hurt to trade down a spot or two and then just taking best available if they really couldn't make up their mind. But now it seems as though Ace Bailey is not on the table at all. I did have a hunch that, some of the sayings that they were throwing out there of, oh, it's age-appropriate behavior, oh, we're not too concerned about it. I did think, for a moment it could have been smoke and mirrors to kind of keep other teams thinking that the Sixers had multiple interests to kind of leverage trade value if they did try to move the number 3 pick, and now that's looking more and more likely. So apologies for this episode being a bit over the 30-minute threshold that I typically aim for. I'm having to come in here and provide extra information since it's extremely important as it broke during recording. I'll also say this. Ace Bailey was already putting himself in an extremely uncomfortable situation, and one that was not very positive for him and his future, by refusing to work out with different NBA teams, most importantly the 76ers, who were most poised to take him. But this only digs a grave even further, and he really needs to search for a new management team or new agent, because this is just abysmal. And I don't think it's entirely his doing. Yes, he absolutely is playing a role, but man, he does not seem to have a good crowd around him. And I know how Philadelphia operates. He has now put himself in a very uncomfortable situation as far as producing after eventually finding wherever it is he lands for an NBA team. I mean, this is absolutely a Cutter Gauthier situation. Another athlete, a very promising athlete, poised to end up in Philadelphia, now expressing a refusal to play in that city. And we saw how that worked out for Cutter. The fans were ruthless, and rightfully so. And to an extent, I honestly encourage a similar response from the fan base to an extent. Obviously, I don't want any sort of harassment to occur, but fans of this team and the organization as well should feel disrespected by this. This is pretty arrogant activity from someone who really has not solidified their credibility within the league. So he's picking a tough fight, showing disrespect to Philadelphia, and we'll see how that works out for him. But there you have it. Breaking news. Ace Bailey will not be a Philadelphia 76er. It is safe to say at this point. Now back to the episode. I want to continue with the theme of talking NBA and shift to the Game 7 of the NBA Finals that we just witnessed. And I want to talk about Tyrese Haliburton. Obviously, pretty much everyone already knows, suffered an Achilles tear in the first quarter of that Game 7. Tragic injury, and it really puts a huge question mark on one of the greatest individual and team playoff runs that we've seen in any major sport in quite some time. I mean, what Tyrese Haliburton and company were putting together in Indiana was really such a joy to watch, and it's so frustrating that it couldn't be carried out fully. Yes, the league has a scheduling and injury issue, and honestly, I could dedicate a full episode to this conversation. I have a lot of hot takes when it comes to, back-to-back games and 82-game schedule and basically having like a 3-week off season in the NBA. I'm no fan of Adam Silver and his approach to scheduling and marketing and just the basics of running this league, and I don't think many people are fans of his. However, I want to focus on a bigger issue regarding injuries in the NBA, and I want to talk about how the media is treating injuries lately, because my disgust regarding Tyrese Haliburton's injury isn't just the fact that we didn't get to see him carry out a full Game 7, isn't just the fact that we're seeing more and more players each season fall victim to these kinds of injuries, but it's about how the media is talking about these kinds of situations as well. Remember, Stephen A. Smith, halftime of Game 5, after Tyrese Haliburton finished those first 24 minutes with 0 points, said, quote, "I'm glad Tyrese Haliburton is injured." Now, obviously, he was trying to take the perspective of obviously, Tyrese Haliburton is underperforming here. I'm glad there's reasoning behind it beyond just him not playing well, right? But regardless, you just don't phrase something like that in that way. You never say, "I'm glad fill in the blank player is injured," in any context. That's totally unprofessional. And then Stephen A. Smith tweeted the moment Tyrese Haliburton went down with the injury, and it was just completely unserious. And I don't know if this is just him kind of carrying the little, petty New York Knicks side of this perspective of Tyrese Haliburton's injury, or if he's just being totally facetious and disrespectful, or if he's trying to put on this fake empathy angle. But I'm going to read you verbatim, word for word, what he tweeted about Tyrese Haliburton. "Awes damn, Tyrese Haliburton is down. Tyrese Haliburton is down. Aw damn, none of us want to see this. We don't want a title decided this way, especially the way he was playing. Aw damn." End quote. Does that sound like something we're supposed to take seriously? Does that sound professional in any sense? Right, like mind you, this guy was still going to get camera time at halftime, right? Like, he didn't even need to tweet about it at all. He could have just said something at halftime and been much more authentic and real in his reaction. But no, instead he took to the keyboard and put, "Aw damn, Tyrese Haliburton is down." Right? Like, when you just combine that with the past comments that were made, it looks totally disrespectful. And he's not the only person I had an issue with. Skip Bayless, just minutes before Tyrese Haliburton got hurt, because in the first 6 minutes of the game, he had 9 points. He was going off at the start of Game 7, giving it his all. He said, quote, "Man, Haliburton looks so hurt," all caps. "That calf must be killing him. He's just limping up and down the court, isn't he?" That's the quote. Just total unprofessional sarcasm in regards to rhetoric involving a player and his serious injury. So we've got plenty of issues in the NBA regarding injuries, but I think one of the big ones is media rhetoric regarding these injuries. It's totally unserious, it's totally unprofessional, and I'm not okay with it at all. Realistically, I don't want these commentators talking about injuries at all. You're not a doctor. You're not involved with that side of the team and their insider information. You don't have any say in it. There's no reason to insert your opinion. It's totally disrespectful, it's totally unprofessional, and it's totally unnecessary. I'm sick of it. Now that I've got that little rant out of the way, I want to move on to the other side of this NBA Finals and talk about Oklahoma City Thunder player and NBA champion Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He won the Finals MVP for his team alongside his Western Conference Finals MVP and League MVP. And fans are claiming with all these awards that he had one of, if not the best individual season in NBA history. And me personally, I think a claim like that is totally laughable. Yes, he's the first player in NBA history to win the scoring title, regular season MVP, conference finals MVP, and finals MVP in a season. Very impressive, no doubt. But at the same time, we're talking about a player who hasn't recorded a triple-double in 3 years and shot 30, 17, and 90 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. He was 30% from the field, 17% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line, 11 for 12, in Game 7 of the NBA Finals at home. So let's be a little realistic. Did he put together a fantastic resume throughout this season? Absolutely. Was it a great season from him? Yes. Is it a memorable season for him? Yes. Does it put a great argument towards him becoming a Hall of Famer one day? Absolutely. Right? He did. I'll give him credit. He did something no player has done before. But to say that automatically qualifies him as the greatest individual season in NBA history is absolutely ridiculous, especially considering he went 30, 17, and 90 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I just can't excuse that. I don't understand how you can claim the greatest player in a single season in NBA history shot, 1 of 9 or something from beyond the arc in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, shot 17% from beyond the arc in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and his team still somehow wins, still somehow surmounts the fact that the greatest player in a single season in NBA history, who they so heavily rely on because he's the greatest player in a single season in NBA history, played so poorly, and yet they still somehow win Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and you're going to tell me that I should still believe that he had the best season of any player in NBA history. It's ridiculous. In fact, that Game 7 performance kind of proved my perspective on the MVP reward this year as a whole. The MVP this season did not go to the most valuable player in the league. It went to the best player on the best team in the league. And, some people view the MVP trophy as that kind of award. It goes to the best player on the best team. And if that's your perspective, then yeah, it went to the right player. But I take it at face value. I take it in a literal sense. I take it word for word. It's the most valuable player to their team. And listen, I'm a ginormous Joel Embiid fan. I'm a ginormous Philadelphia 76ers fan, right? And there's a lot of beef between Embiid fans and Jokic fans about which player is the better center. I personally would point towards head-to-head matchup stats to clear out that kind of argument. But I'm going to be the first one, as an Embiid mega fan, to come to Nikola Jokic's defense in this past season and say he's the guy that should have won MVP this season. Was he the best player on the best team in the league this year? No. But he was the most valuable player of any player on any team this past season. Not only did he put up 60-point triple-doubles, but you just look at the splits. There's plenty of websites you can go to take a look at this yourself. Do the research yourself. Look at how Thunder players perform when SGA is on the court and off the court. The splits are all green for both. But when you take Nikola Jokic on the court for the Nuggets and look at his teammates, they're all green. And then when you take Jokic off the court and you look at his teammates, they're all red. Why? Because he's the most valuable player in the league, because without him, they are nothing. But SGA could miss a game and the Thunder would be just as successful, and it was proven in Game 7 of these NBA Finals when he shot 30% from the field and 17% from 3, and the team still won. Why? Because he can go missing for a game and they can still pull off a win. And that, in my opinion, discredits any argument you can make about why he should be the most valuable player. Was he the best player on the best team this past season? Yes. But was he the most valuable player this past season? Absolutely not. All right, we're moving on. We're going back to some Philadelphia talk, and we're going to talk about Jalen Hurts. Because we're at the stage of the NFL offseason where fans rank positions to fill the time, and far too many people I'm seeing are leaving Jalen Hurts off of their list when talking about quarterbacks. And I'm going to give you guys 3 arguments as to why Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback, to help those of you who are listening who may not believe that, but also to help those of you who are listening that do believe that, to utilize these arguments in conversations with your friends in the future to help drive your point home. Here's point number 1. You cannot say that Jalen Hurts is a system quarterback or product of a super team. And here's why. Number 1, he has had a new offensive coordinator every single year he has played football since high school. You can't be a system quarterback if the system keeps changing. You're not a product of the system if you've dealt with 7 different systems in the last 7 years. Also, to say he's the product of a super team is absolutely ridiculous and ignorant, and shows that you know nothing about NFL history. Because let's look back to 2021. The Eagles made the playoffs in Jalen Hurts' first full season as a starter. And I want to remind you of the offensive players on this roster. Yes, they had Devontae Smith in his rookie year. They had Dallas Goedert, and they had a decent Miles Sanders. I'll give him that, right? But then let's go beyond that. Wide receiver 2, Quez Watkins. Wide receiver 3, Jalen Reagor, who finished that season with 30 yards receiving. Wide receiver 4 was Greg Ward, and wide receiver 5, I don't even know if he had a catch, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Hurts led this team to the playoffs with Quez Watkins as wide receiver 2 and Jalen Reagor with 30 yards as wide receiver 3. They made the playoffs. Also, another interesting stat from this 2021 season, Jalen Hurts led the team in rushing yards that year, even with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell. He had the most rushing yards of any player on this roster. So to say that he's the product of a super team, or to say that he's a product of a system, is absolutely heinous when he put this absolutely non-existent roster on his back in his very first full season of being a starter and brought them to the playoffs. It's disrespectful to say that he's a product of a super team. Second point, I want you to take into consideration these stats through each quarterback's first 4 seasons, and you're going to have to pay attention here. There's a lot of numbers you're going to have to digest, okay? Jalen Hurts, through his first 4 seasons as a starter, has had a 65.4% completion rate, 13,600 passing yards, 220 passing yards per game, 79 passing touchdowns, and 35 interceptions. Total touchdowns for Jalen Hurts is 131 in his first 4 seasons, okay? Now that you've got those stats in your head, let's talk about this mystery quarterback, okay? This mystery quarterback in his first 4 seasons has a 61.6% completion rate. That's 4% worse than Jalen Hurts. 13,900 yards. That's just 300 more than Jalen Hurts. 221 yards per game. That's just 1 more yard per game passing than Jalen Hurts. 97 passing touchdowns. Yes, that's 18 more than Jalen Hurts in his first 4 years. But 52 interceptions. That's 17 more than Jalen Hurts in his first 4 seasons. Also, total touchdowns for that mystery quarterback through the first 4 seasons, 99. So 32 less. 32 less than Jalen Hurts in his first 4 seasons. So I know what you're asking. Well, who's the mystery quarterback, Austin? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Patrick Mahomes? Is it Josh Allen? No. It's Tom Brady. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is putting up just about identical, if not better stats in his first 4 seasons as a starter than Tom Brady. And listen, I'm not sitting here trying to make the argument that Jalen Hurts is the greatest quarterback of all time, or that he's better than Tom Brady, or that he will be better than Tom Brady. But what I am saying is, perspective is everything. And when you put Jalen Hurts in the right perspective and in the right comparisons, he's right there with everybody else. He's no different. But the haters, they see the tush push, and they see the rosters with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell and all these guys on defense, and they see the pettiness of Nick Sirianni, and all of a sudden there's just this lens that they throw on, this ignorant lens that Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. It's ridiculous. I want to give credit to Philly Dogs on Twitter. They created that comparison. Shout out to them. Finally, the third point, I'm going to give you guys a list of quarterbacks, and this is not in any particular order. This is not a ranking. This is just a list of quarterbacks, okay? Ready? Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Jaden Daniels, and Trevor Lawrence. Okay, what's the significance of this list, Austin? What do all these quarterbacks have in common? Here's what they have in common. Jalen Hurts has 0 losses against all of these quarterbacks in the last 2 years. Not a single loss against these quarterbacks in the last 2 seasons. I'm going to list them again now with that information in your mind. Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Jaden Daniels, and Trevor Lawrence. 0 losses. Now, there was one game that the Eagles lost to the Commanders when Jaden Daniels was playing that Jalen Hurts was injured in the first quarter for. I'm not taking that into consideration because Jalen Hurts did not get to play a complete game in that game. He didn't get to play a half. If he had gotten to play a half, I would be able to understand the counter argument there, but he barely got to play a first quarter, and so therefore it's not taken into consideration there. But the lesson here, with all 3 of these points, the 2021 playoffs, the comparison to Tom Brady, and the fact that he hasn't lost a game to any of those quarterbacks in the past 2 seasons, and in fact is one of 2 NFC quarterbacks to ever beat Lamar Jackson in any game, says this. It doesn't matter where you put him on your list in terms of top quarterbacks, because at the end of the day, no matter where you rank him, he's still going to beat your favorite quarterback on Sunday, and that's all that matters. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Philly Cheese Take. I'm excited for the NBA draft tomorrow. We'll be back next week reacting to all of the moves both in Philadelphia and beyond regarding that draft, as well as more conversations about the Flyers and their big trades and their upcoming draft, and a continuation of the Eagles offseason. I love you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Please leave any feedback or comments you'd like to make in the provided areas below on whatever platform you are on. Please follow, subscribe, leave a rating. Let me know what you would like to see in the future, areas I could improve. All feedback is appreciated. I'll be back next week with more talk. Until then, be blessed, and I'll see you guys then.